It doesn't matter how we got here.
Happy holidays, folks, and welcome to the Bomb Squad podcast. I'm your host today, Tim M. Sullivan, and with me I
am Tanner Richard Kraft. Happy Christmas.
I'm Rein Conversey.
And today we have a special guest, my cousin.
Hey there, I'm Matt Sullivan, and Merry Christmas.
Your cousin? You said you got Marlon Brando.
Well, I regret to inform you that Marlon Brando is dead.
What a terrible eventuality.
When was someone going to tell me this?
Today we are going to talk about a film from 2011, Arthur Christmas, which is turning 10 years old. Matt's a special guest today because he actually worked on the film. I'm going to start by asking him some questions about that experience and just kind of how your career has progressed since then, because I know you've worked on like a bunch of big stuff. Like you worked on season 2 Mandalorian, you worked on Thor Ragnarok, you got some big stuff under your belt. And I know our relatives always say that they're proud of how much you've accomplished, but I hope it means a little more for me, because like I've graduated 2 years ago and I've touched 3 indie features that are not finished. So I'm just blown away by that.
Living the dream.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that experience.
So I graduated school in 2012 from Ringling College of Art and Design. And actually when I was a junior going into my senior year, so a rising senior, I guess, I interned at Sony ImageWorks as a lighting artist. Well, it would be called a lighting intern, I guess. But so I was part of that little training program, and we had probably, I want to say there were like 12 or so interns in our group, and everyone kind of had different disciplines. Like there were a couple people who were in animation, some people in lighting, layout. Like it was a bit of a mixed bag. And there was actually no guarantee that we were going to work on any productions. It was really just a training program, and like we were learning the tools at ImageWorks and, you know, being thrown into the meat grinder as far as like, you know, having to learn the protocols and like understanding Linux, which I had never touched before in my life. Even learning how to open the program seemed like such a hurdle for me at that time, because I would not consider myself like on the super technical side of the spectrum as far as like 3D animation is concerned. I think that some people tend to veer more towards like the art school of thought, and then some are more on the technical side, and both have their pros and cons, but I would consider myself like probably 2/3 artistic, 1/3 technical. So even just like trying to understand the basic protocols of like getting up and running at Sony seemed like pretty monumental at the time. But long story short, we had a really good group of people with us in the training program, and we were able to make it through all of our like test exercises. And actually the first lighting test that I did, I believe, was Arthur in the sleigh barn, like the classic Santa sleigh, like Grand Santa's sleigh. And that was just awesome. Like so once we were done like with the training exercises that were like the basic, like here, light a ball and like understand how the lighting works, which is like super boring, right? You're just lighting like a sphere on like a ground plane, and you're just like pulling your teeth out trying to get past that stuff. And all of us were pretty desperate to work on a film, right? Because as interns who are still in school, this is like our one shot to like get a foot in the door, you know, and actually have an opportunity to create something for the studio. So we were just trying to get through the training portion as fast as possible so that we could get onto production. So once we finished those training exercises, like I was saying, the first like real introduction to production was the sleigh barn shot with Arthur. And that was actually the shot that all of the lighters who were getting onboarded onto the show did as a test. So basically when you're learning the sensibilities of the directors and of the visual effects supervisor and the lighting leads and everything, at least in that department, you come on and you complete the test shot before you get rolled on to real shots for the film, right? So you're just trying to get used to the tools for that show. So I just remember having a blast working on that shot of Arthur in the sleigh barn, and then eventually I was able to get that approved, and we started rolling onto real production shots after that.
Awesome. Yeah. And any other things that you've worked on that you want to kind of talk about, just like as far as how your career has progressed since then?
Yeah, so I actually interned at Sony twice. So the next summer, actually, I returned as an intern again, but it was a little bit easier to get onto production because I had already been through the regular training there. And so that time around, I was working on... So I think there were a couple things in production, if I'm remembering correctly. The original Hotel Transylvania was in production, so Gendy Tartakovsky was there, and we were we were getting training classes from him where he would be talking about his experience with Samurai Jack, and just talking about his sensibilities just as far as animation was concerned. He's got a very particular style and stuff, so it was just awesome to learn from people like that. And also Marcello Vignali, who's production designer at Sony Animation, he ran a sketch club right down the street from the studio, actually. And so every Friday during lunch, he would just have people come and draw for an hour or so. And I made it a habit to go every single time. And a lot of the time he was bringing people who were story artists or directors. So Cody Cameron and Chris Pern, and a lot of the people who went on to direct stuff after at Sony were just sitting there sketching. So that was really cool. I made a lot of good long-term connections just attending that sketch club. And the production that I was actually on during that internship was Oz the Great and Powerful. I got a couple of shots in on that film. Nice. And I think it's important to remember also, as an intern, you're not churning through shots the same way you would be as a regular production artist. So now on a production, I'm just cranking out shots day by day pretty much. As an intern, you've got 2 shots, maybe 3 shots over the course of the whole summer, because it takes you a lot longer just to get through them, Right. So it's more of a learning experience, but it was really cool. As interns, we had mentors that we were working with on a daily basis, and I had 2 mentors there. One was named Puya Gobadpour, and the other guy's name was Jason Madsen. And they're just both incredible lighting artists, and I worked with them a bunch, and they just had a bunch of great feedback, and they just really helped me grow in that department. And then later, when I left Sony when the internship ended, I should say, and I left, I headed straight to Disney Animation for their training program, which kind of catapulted me into the next portion of my career. And those couple initial career steps, I think, were pretty critical for the trajectory of my career since.
All right. Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of big names there. This is just really cool to hear about. So then the next question is for the rest of us. Just kind of general history with the film, if any. Rein, we'll start with you.
So I don't know if this was, I didn't bother to look at the box office or the marketing or anything. I've literally never heard of this movie. The end.
That's a good history, Rein.
I think one of the things about Arthur Christmas that was kind of a shame to me is that it was really poorly marketed, in my opinion. I don't know what happened, if it just got lost in the Christmas mix. But I also feel it was named really poorly. Arthur Christmas makes people think of Arthur the Aardvark, and I think if you don't already have a face to the name, it's just such a forgettable title. And
yeah.
So I wonder if it's because it's so British, I guess, just to be blunt. They've just thought maybe Sony thought it wouldn't appeal to American audiences very well.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't want to slam Sony too hard on the marketing,
for sure.
I just felt there were opportunities that could have been taken to make the film more of a success, at least at the box office, than it was.
Yeah.
Because it was like a collaboration with Aardman Animation, and Aardman is so awesome, like Wallace and Gromit, and like they just have such appealing characters and like animation style and everything. And so I also just thought that the humor, like the British humor, was so funny. I guess that's not technically for everyone. Like, you either like it or you don't. It's kind of like licorice. If you like it, you really like it. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, I really felt like the movie was better than it got credit for. But I didn't really give a at the time because I got to work on a movie, so...
Fair enough. I do think, like, since I kind of went to film school with people who are mostly younger than me, I think some of the people that I graduated with did kind of grow up with this movie. But yeah, I guess it's probably not as well known as, you know, your Pixar movies and what have you. Yeah. And Tanner, you just watched this for the first time like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, literally. What Rein just said, you can copy and paste that answer.
Fair enough. So I guess I'll just kind of talk about my history, which I guess kind of going off what they were saying, I probably wouldn't have heard of it or wouldn't have really gone into looking into it if you hadn't worked on it, Matt.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And that was Christmas season 2011, which that was while I was still at my first college, UCM, which was in Warrensburg. So I recall like coming down to St. Louis from campus because I was living out of town. So I recall coming home from campus and like there were two Christmas movies I remember seeing with my mom that season, and one of them was A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas in 3D.
God. I'm sure your mom loved that movie.
I mean, she seemed to enjoy it, but that's definitely a movie to watch with your mom. And then the other one was Arthur Christmas, and I remember just thinking like, that's neat. My cousin worked on a movie, and so that was just kind of a cool thing going into it while I was watching it.
Wait, am I hearing right? You watched these two as a double feature? Is that what I heard?
No, I wish that would be an epic double feature. But anyway, let's move on to our thoughts on the movie. Tanner, seemed like you really enjoyed this one. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Oh man, I am so glad that you picked this for the schedule because you introduced me to what is, in my opinion, a modern Christmas classic, truly. I had such a blast with the movie. I really loved it. I knew I was in for a good time when I started the movie because, you know, you think, at first you see Sony Pictures Animation and you're like, all right, they've made some okay movies. You know, prior to Spider-Verse, there wasn't a lot of big hits, but now that they've made Spider-Verse, they're hot. Thank God.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is great.
That's a great one.
That is great. But that didn't get the kind of acclaim that Spider-Verse did, unfortunately. Same people,
No,
Chris Lord and Phil Miller.
Exactly.
I think it's Chris Miller and Phil Lord. I think I got their names switched.
Yeah, switch.
Anyway, so I see Sony Pictures Animation. I'm like, all right, this could be good. And then I see Aardman, and I like literally go, what? I had no idea this was an Aardman movie. I forget that they did a run of CG movies there from like 2006 to 2011. We brought up Flushed Away on last week's podcast. That's technically an Aardman movie. And this is also an Aardman movie, another CG movie. This is a lot better than Flushed Away. I do like Flushed Away. I don't know why I'm making that comparison. Hey, you know that studio's worst movie?
don't let Joe Tronchek hit you to say that.
But I loved it. I loved it. In my Letterboxd review for it, I open up my review for it by saying at one point in the third act, I was crying so much that my eyes physically hurt. It really got to me in a lot of ways. Like, it's the animation's real pretty. It's real satisfying. Aardman has this kind of style to it that it doesn't quite look like, it doesn't even look like faux stop motion like some of their other CG movies do. This is like really CG looking, but I like the art style. I find the art style really appealing. And for me, it's like, what I really loved about the story is that when you boil it right down, it is such a low stakes story.
A child's been missed! Do you want to wake up the whole North Pole? Good idea!
The entire conflict of the movie is trying to deliver one present to one kid. but because you have such low stakes, you're able to add so much intimacy to it, and it feels very real because of it. And you're able to hit a lot of these emotional beats with a fantastic cast. I mean, James McAvoy is really good as Arthur Christmas in the lead role. Bill Nighy as Grand Santa. Oh, man. I love that guy.
Oh, Grand Santa's so funny.
Yes. Oh, I love him because like he's like the ultimate old guy. He's like the final boss of old people. So
yeah, he's like at the point where he's so old that he can say like really inappropriate things and like can get away with it still.
Don't matter what you come up with, son. You may be the next in line, but you'll never get to be Santa unless you knock him off.
You know, that's like my favorite part about that character, and that I feel like this movie hit like right before cancel culture did, and like it was just like in such a sweet spot, which I really appreciated that humor quite a bit.
Yeah,
and I remember like seeing tests of Grand Santa like early on. Like just seeing like a screen test where someone's like testing the animation against like a clip of him from another movie or something. And like, it just, I remember being excited for that character from like the very beginning.
He's a real standout. I really love him. And I also really liked Santa himself. He's a real fun, sweet character. As you know, he is a father.
Yep.
And a father is a dad. And therefore, Matt, you're probably unprepared for this. Dads rock, baby! So this is a movie about a dad that's kind of trying his best. He's a little bit past his prime and he learns to self-grow a little bit, you know? So as I really love this movie thinking, wow, this is a modern Christmas classic. This is so smart. It's funny. It's really emotional. The character beats are just... That's the thing that really stood out to me was the character beats were really, really great. And I thought, wow, this movie's so amazing. Who directed this? So I go and look it up. I'm like, who's the director? On Letterboxd, I go click on, oh, Sarah Smith, what else has she done? And then everything made sense. Quick side story here. About a month ago, actually 2 months ago at this point, I saw a movie in theaters called Ron's Gone Wrong. And it was one of my favorite movies of the year. I absolutely loved it. And little did I know, Sarah Smith, who wrote and directed this movie, she also was one of the directors and her screenwriting team wrote Ron's Gone Wrong. So I might have discovered this eventually anyway by just going through the back catalog of a movie I really love. But like it all made so much sense because what I loved about Ron's Gone Wrong was the character beats. The character beats in that movie are really, really strong. And that's what the sort of magical glue of the movie is. So this is actually a long-winded way of saying, please see Ron's Gone Wrong in theaters. If it's still playing in theaters near you, please go see it. It shouldn't have bombed. It's not fair. But yeah, Arthur Christmas is great.
I also really like the fact that even a character like Steve, who's like, you know, at first glance, like the most unlikable character.
The bike, will you get? No, please don't cry.
You still like find a way to empathize with him in some way because like as Santa is like getting older and seems to be dropping the ball on a lot of like the managerial tasks and stuff around the office, if you will, Steve is kind of the one who's just expected to pick up all the slack. And so as a result, he's like way overcompensating in like the managerial department, like trying to make sure that everything's super efficient and smart, and like he just feels like he's missing like the special attention from his dad that he was missing all along, you know?
Yeah. There's a throwaway line where he's like, this is about the pool table, isn't it? And he's like, you were 8. You were my dad. You should have known. And then it's like, that's just a little small character moment that tells you all you need to know about, you know, their entire history growing up as him as a kid. Yeah, Steve was such a great character. I messaged Tim early on in the movie about a moment that really made me laugh, which was when Arthur runs out after the board game to hand him the Santa figurine. And then he's just like, close the door. I told you to. And I messaged Tim saying like, here, brother, I gave you this figurine to make you feel better. And Steve just looks at him saying, you waste of space, you piece of crap. Close the door. Like, it was so like, whoa. Yeah. But it's such, God. Yeah, Steve's a great character. I can't believe I didn't bring him up. Oh my God. Rein, please, or Tim, whoever you want to go next, please make them talk before I keep rambling.
All right, yeah. So Tanner liked the movie. Rein, how'd you feel?
Let me preface by saying that I was not expecting a reference to the Cuban Missile Crisis in this movie.
I didn't know he was the Cuban Missile Crisis. I nearly started World War III.
More movies should have it.
And then also let me preface that I'm glad I didn't know about this movie when I was like 12 or 13 when it came out, because I almost certainly wouldn't have. It was like during, like, I was still in like my edgy phase, and I wouldn't, any like kids movie, I was just like, no, that's lame and dumb. I'm only going to force myself to watch MTV to think I'm cool. Like, I was like, oh, South Park is the only animated thing I'll watch. So I'm glad that I got to see when I'm actually able to appreciate stuff like this. I had a great time with this movie. I thought it was, let me preface by saying that any like characters like Arthur, I'm just a sucker for, like, people with just this kind heart. Like, it's impossible for me to like hate any movie with where this is like the main character.
Oh, so that's why you're my friend.
But yeah, I thought it was a nice, cute little movie. I like Tanner. I appreciated how low stakes it was. I think the fact that these Arthur thought and knew this was a big deal, even though it is technically in the grand scheme of things, is a pretty low stakes plot. For Arthur, it wasn't, which I think was just great. I also really appreciate how there weren't really any bad guys in this movie. Every character was very well fleshed out, and you can't really say any of them were bad. At worst, you can say like that the current Santa was like the least well off of me. But I feel like that was just him getting old, not really malice or anything, you could say. They were doing their idea of what was good.
The real villain was Steve's Christmas tree shaped soul patch.
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that.
I only noticed that in the moment where they're like, Arthur's seeing her open the present. That's when I first noticed it in the close-up, and I'm not even kidding, it almost ruined the moment for me, because I was like, what the hell is on his chin?
I thought that was a great little detail. I love the design of the ship.
Yeah, the S1.
Yeah, and also, yeah, the humor was, I like me some British humor. I thought this was pretty solid. It was a good time, and I really liked how very clear point of view, very well defined each major character.
Awesome.
I thought that was great.
I also thought it came at a time where like there were a lot of advancements being made in like 3D animation. I remember like during production, like seeing some of the like gigantic crowd shots and stuff, which I feel like Sony ImageWorks rarely gets the credit they deserve, because I feel like some of the best CG comes out of that shop, even though like the movies are not always like, you know, an A+ film. Like, they're really hit or miss, I feel like, but the technical execution at Sony is, like, really second to none, almost. I think Arthur is, like, standing outside of the S1, and there's just, like, a massive crowd of elves, and I just remember seeing that shot, like, as it was coming through in dailies every day and being like, how many characters is that? That's like a million elves. I had never seen a crowd shot that big, which was just like a technical feat, but I thought it was impressive. And then also I just really appreciated like the animation and stuff. Like, it was just a very fun movie. And like some of the attention to details, especially in like I guess it kind of came around the same time as Prep and Landing, which was kind of a shame because there were some crossovers in terms of, I don't know if you guys saw the Disney short Prep and Landing. Basically, like, all the elves storming into the house where they're like, you know, Mission Impossible, like turning cookies into biofuel. Like, they just had a lot of fun little moments that really show like the operation of like going down the chimney or like into the house. And I just thought that was really a fun like 5-minute scene that explains a lot like behind the scenes, you know, of their operation.
Yeah, Matt, any other general thoughts on the movie?
I don't know. I think like one sequence that I want to like give a little shout out to, just because like it was the sequence that I was on almost the whole time that I was on production. It was referred to, so every sequence at Sony has like a 3-letter abbreviation that represents like what's happening in the sequence. So the sequence that I was on was called TYD, which stood for 1,000-Yard Dash. And 1,000-Yard Dash was basically when Arthur rides the bike down into, like, through the snow into the town of Trelew. And so, like, the shots where, like, Bryony like sticks the wrapping paper into like the spokes of the tire of the bike, and he goes like flipping over the handlebars. Like those were the shots that I was primarily working on during production, like when he goes flying up in the air, and I just had a blast.
I remember noticing they looked great.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I just had a blast with that sequence. I was like really happy to be on a fun action-packed sequence that, I mean, it was, in retrospect, like those shots, if I look at them now, they seem relatively simple because it's like two characters, relatively simple background, not crazy moving cameras or anything, but at the time I was like, oh my god, this is like the coolest shots I could possibly imagine working on. So yeah, I had a good time on 1,000-Yard Dash.
Nice. Yeah, I guess my thoughts would be like when I watched it when it came out when I was like 18 going on 19, I was just kind of like, yeah, that was fine. That was a cute movie. It's cool that my cousin worked on it. And I think revisiting this time around, I came to appreciate some things a little bit more. I think probably my favorite character is Bryony. Like, she's just such a fun character.
When she's like wrapping the lions and stuff, like when they're in the chase sequence. Yeah, she's fun.
That's just so good. And like Arthur is just such a pure, wholesome character who like is out of his depth, but he like just really wants everything to be perfect for every child, and he can't find someone who's just like more embodies this just idea of like the perfect Christmas, and I think that's great. And like it doesn't like hit you over the head with it, because like you also have sort of like the banter between all of the other generations of Santa. Like you got Steve, and you got the current Santa, you got Grand Santa, and like they all have their selfishness here and there, but then like ultimately, kind of like what you said, they're all doing their idea of what is good. And yeah, overall I just think it's a really sweet, a really fun Christmas movie. There's a lot of great humor. That's something I noticed too a lot more this time around. It's like there's some really good jokes in there. The table scene where they're just kind of bantering at each other, I thought that was like really funny.
And then Mrs. Claus comes in.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about it, and I definitely think it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. And yeah, I guess moving on to our last question, which is just some of the scenes that really jumped out at you. Rein, we'll start with you.
I guess I'll go with the ending, because unlike Tanner, like I don't get waterworks very often. But I'll admit, like my eyes were starting to water a little bit near the ending when all the Santas watch and see this kid get the present, and alongside with Arthur being chosen as the one to give the present and be the one who gets to be the Santa in this moment. It was great.
Great.
Yeah, that ending. I really love I can't remember the exact wording of the line, but there's a line in that ending where Santa tells Steve, "You would be a great Santa.
You deserve to be Santa."
Yeah, good lines. So yeah, Tanner, some scenes.
Oh God, it's hard to pick. The 1,000-Yard Dash that Matt was talking about that he worked on, that's actually a really fun sequence. I love like the scene in Toronto where Grand Santa's just like, nobody lives in Canada, as they're like flying by all these skyscrapers. Like, I think some people live in Canada. I kind of love the very minor subplot of the United Nations taking military action on a hostile extraterrestrial entity in their eyes. That was kind of really interesting. I wouldn't expect a militarized drone in a Christmas movie. But oddly enough, I think my favorite scene in the entire movie was in screenwriting, there's this all hope is lost moment, right before at the end of the second act, before you start your third act. For me, that was what was really great. Hearing Arthur kind of just like go on and on about, like, Arthur give up hope in the specific way he talks about it was really moving. But what was especially moving to me was the scene where Santa goes into the mailroom, and he just sees all the letters that his son Arthur has been writing, and seeing how much he cares about Christmas, and makes him question what is he doing? Why has he been so neglectful of him? And dang it, I hate you. Right.
That's 6.
That's like 9.
That's
okay,
6.
6.
Oh God.
We have a counter going, Matt.
I'm sure cries a lot. But I just remember saying that was a very emotionally powerful sequence. And then, of course, when he gains his confidence back by seeing the letter after it's being burned, and he sees that photo and he goes, it doesn't matter who does it, someone has to do it, and then Santa's still fine. The sequence in Africa was fun with all the lions.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun.
So unexpected, too.
What an unexpected Christmas movie. You got lions trying to kill you, militarized drones. You do not expect the drone strike in your Christmas movie.
No.
Well, then you don't watch enough Christmas horror.
What Christmas horror movies have drone strikes, Tim?
I don't know. The one I'm making.
What?
Stay tuned, folks.
Hard cut to Tim trying to rapidly write a script to prove me wrong. Yeah, that's all I got with the scenes.
Awesome. Matt, you talked about the 1,000-yard dash that you had worked on. Any other scenes that really stick with you?
I also really liked the dinner table scene because I feel like it really highlights each character's motivation, like all the different Santas, and it kind of just lays it's interesting because it's metaphorically everyone laying everything on the table, and they're literally sitting at a table having this conversation, and it's just your regular kind of family dinner, but you see that Grand Santa is motivated by the fact that he's bitter that the world is changing and that there are new technologies and that he feels like he's being phased out. Santa is grappling with the fact that he's getting a little older and he doesn't feel like he's dropping the ball at all, but he's got to come to realize that he's at that point where he's got to give up the reins soon, most literally. And then Steve and Arthur are obviously they're viewed in different lights, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses in the eyes of their dad and granddad. But I just thought it was really interesting because everyone is motivated by such different things, and I thought that was pretty unique. So
awesome. Like you mentioned, the dinner table scene, that was one that really jumped out at me because it's just such a great character moment that really establishes all of them and all of their unique kind of perspectives on the whole Santa thing. And the Africa stuff was really fun too. I think that sequence really made for a lot of fun set pieces, just them flying and wrapping the lions and stuff. Then the one bit that was really funny was the EV just kind of circling in orbit and the guy thinking that there's a UFO. That was a fun bit.
The farmer guy. Or whatever he was. I forgot about that moment.
The final scene where they're giving the kid the present, and you have, I think the part of that moment that really stuck out to me is the Grand Santa and the current Santa and Steve are all arguing about I should do it, and then Arthur just goes, "Shh, you're gonna wake the kid." That was just such a good moment, I think.
Just a nice little cherry on top. Let's remember our original mission here.
Yeah, exactly.
I also really liked the way that tension was built with the lighting across the sequences leading up to that, where it's kind of like a race against the sun, right? The sun is rising, and once that sun is up, that kid's gonna be awake. And honestly, it felt like the sun was rising for ages, and you're just get there. I like that they incorporated that environmental element to help drive the plot forward.
Yeah, and then the solution of being just the giant ship with the stars, that's just such a cool little thing.
I love that.
Steve's high-tech S1.
So I guess that basically does it for our questions. Any departing thoughts? Matt, we'll start with you.
I don't know. I'm I mean, this is kind of unrelated to Arthur Christmas, but like it feels like we're probably entering a phase now where we're gonna start to get some great media back again, because all the productions were on hold for so long, and I'm just excited for the ball to be rolling again, and I think that people are really fired up to be making movies, and I think that we're just entering a really exciting time for media, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Really hoping things continue to get better going in 2022. And Rein, parting thoughts.
Yeah, parting thought one. I thought it was cool. I really liked the beginning moment where what's the little girl's name?
Gwen?
Yeah, Gwen. Where she's like where she's writing this letter, and she's basically she just name drops all like these like common like sort of cynical talking points about like why the whole Santa being like tired, like people who think they're being clever will say it's like, oh, this is why obviously Santa wouldn't exist because of this X, Y, and Z. Like, oh,
how does he deliver all the gifts in one night?
I think it's funny how this movie is sort of how characters like Steve are sort of a cold clinical response to those sort of questions. His sort of methods are that, whereas a character like Arthur is sort of the voice going, okay, hey, that's not what's important. Is just the idea of a person who wants to be altruistic and help everyone and give everyone presents and make everyone and bring joy to the world. That's that's the heart of the story. Then also, I guess my final thought is I don't know what my top 10 Christmas movies would be, but I'm pretty sure this would be somewhere in there. Probably like the lower top 10, if I'm being honest, but it's somewhere.
The fact that it made your top 10 in general is such an honor.
Grant, I don't know how many Christmas movies I've watched. I don't know. I feel like it's like neck and neck with Bad Santa for me, strangely enough.
Two sides of the same coin, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Both have Santa.
Both have cynical Santas.
Unironically, yeah, they're for very different reasons.
I mean, what's like your absolute like pinnacle Christmas movie, like Home Alone?
Rein, I just want to say, if you say Die Hard, I'm coming over there and shooting you.
No, I'm not that unoriginal. No, it's not original, but Christmas Story.
Okay, that's a great one.
That's a good one. I think I'd say Tokyo Godfathers is mine.
Elf.
Oh yeah, Elf's a great one.
Fun one.
I always forget about Elf.
Classic.
We were just working on a movie about Will Ferrell movies, and I'd totally forgotten about Elf.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those ones that just always slips my mind, and then like when Christmas season rolls around again and it's like in the streaming platforms, I'm like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
You turn on ABC and you go, or whatever ABC Family's called now, Freeform or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Home Alone for me was like the Christmas movie that I always really loved.
It's a classic.
All the Home Alones, even the ones that were bad, even like Home Alone 3, I still love that movie. It's just such a hard movie not to like.
Home Alone 3 was my favorite as a kid because it was the only one I had on DVD, so I didn't get to watch the other ones ever, but I would watch Home Alone 3 all the time. And as an adult, the only thing I really have of note to say about Home Alone 3 is how weirdly high stakes the plot is.
If that goes in a missile, air defenses can't stop it.
The kid in that movie is essentially preventing nuclear Armageddon, if you think about it. It's really weird.
Because that kid's not... It wasn't Macaulay Culkin either. It was like a reboot, kind of, right? And,
yeah, it was like a reboot sequel thing.
And he had like the chicken pox or something. And
yeah. Well, the concern was because like they put a missile tracking chip in an RC car that was accidentally gifted to this kid. And the missile tracking chip was supposed to be delivered to North Korea. It's such a... This isn't Arthur Christmas. I'm sorry, Tim.
I'm here for it.
Tanner, final thoughts.
There we go. Yeah, this is like a classic Christmas movie for me. I would probably put it in my top 10 or top 15 Christmas movies. It's really good. It's such a blast. There's great character beats. And if you're a fan of Aardman animations, there's a lot of little fun Easter eggs. Like when he steps on the sheep, when Steve steps on the sheep entering Gwen's house, it's the noise that Shaun the Sheep makes. That very distinct bah. Or like in one of the delivery bits in the beginning of the movie, there's one of the elves puts a wrapped railroad track down, as the train is moving, which is a reference to the wrong trousers, Wallace and Gromit. That short. So there's a lot of fun little Easter eggs if you're a fan of Aardman. I got trivia in this podcast anyway.
There it is.
You know, but it's such a great movie, great character beats, simple plot, and it just has a lot of heart. You know, it has a lot of heart. It's really good. Go see it, and also go see Ron's Gone Wrong.
Alrighty. Yeah, I guess my final thoughts are basically echoing these. It's a good Christmas movie. It's definitely sort of an overlooked gem. It's a lot better than the advertisements kind of made it out to be. I think it's definitely worth checking out. Like, even if you're an adult, like it's a cute movie. I think you'll get some appreciation out of just sort of the characters and the humor. There's a lot to like about it. So yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for tuning into this podcast. If you are listening on any of the audio platforms, go ahead and leave a review because it helps boost us in the algorithms. If you're watching on Spotify video, cool. Thanks.
Good job.
If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Let us know. What did you think of Arthur Christmas? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Do you want the Home Alone 3 podcast?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Comment below. Let us know.
If this video gets
we
a
get
million
10
views,
million likes.
yeah.
If this video
Then
gets a
it'll
million
happen.
views, we will do a Home Alone 3 podcast.
Go ahead and comment below. Let us know. And go ahead and hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of our videos. And hit the bell icon.
Oh, I've always wanted to do this. Right down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere down there.
We got a little graphic here.
That I desperately need to update because it's about 300 subscribers out of date.
Or maybe it's floating right here. Or right there.
Austin's going to put a bunch of them on the screen and just be crying the whole time.
Oh man, I love AOL. So yeah, the like, the subscribe, the bell, do all that if you want. No pressure. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week when we talk about another classic holiday film, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, excited about that one. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you. Anything you'd like to plug?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, actually, I'm at DreamWorks now. I'm just wrapping up.
Yo!
We just recently wrapped on a project called The Bad Guys, which is based off of a children's book, and it's really awesome. It's kind of like I don't know if I could say that. I could probably say this. It's like a hybrid between like 2D and 3D, so it's like a very interesting, almost like in the way Spider-Verse takes like kind of a different approach to like 3D animation. So Bad Guys is coming out first quarter 2022, so that is something to look forward to. I'm really excited about that. And I'm currently working on Puss in Boots 2, so that won't be out.
Wait,
for
that's
about
actually happening?
Oh yeah,
Has that been announced?
It's probably about 100,000 years out at this point.
Well, I'm just glad we're getting more Shrek stuff. I mean, I know,
Nice.
I think Illumination's working on a Shrek movie, I heard. I don't know if that's true.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Some guy from DreamWorks just slowly comes on screen with a gun.
Just drags me out. Well, yeah, thank you guys again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's been fun.
thanks for coming on. We're definitely excited about those projects you mentioned. And the audience, again, thank you for tuning in. And remember, there's always time for a bow. Farewell.
Oh, that's sweet.
See ya.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."